All right, for Mathlab 4D, now all of a sudden we're going to talk about adding and subtracting and solving. And that shouldn't say solving rational expressions because we can't solve an expression. We can only solve equations. Okay? All the way to the bottom where my blank page is. When we talk about adding and subtracting, the difference here, if I go 2/3 plus 4/5, I've always described the bottom of a fraction as the unit. If I think about 2 centimeters plus 4 inches, I can't do it. They have to have the same units. This has to also be centimeters if we're going to be able to add them together. So when we talk about fractions, if you think about that bottom as your unit, it's the size of the pieces. I have 2 things and they're both thirds. I have 4 things and they're all fifths. Those aren't the same size, so I can't say I have 6 of anything. I have to fix the units so that they match. How do I do that? I find the least common multiple of the bottoms. Now, typically for what we're doing with our rational expressions, we're going to factor the bottoms first. And then you're going to multiply each fraction by every factor that's missing as we make them match. Now, for the good old math we did way back in like grade 3, here's what we did. Right? This had a 5, this had a 3, we multiply them together, and it's going to end up over 15. So we're going to have 10/15 plus 12/15. Now the pieces are the same size. So now I can say, hey, I have 22. 22 what? 22/15. Now when we go to do this with algebra, with variables and expressions and all this fun stuff, start by factoring. These two are easy. They match on the bottom, right? These have a common denominator. So you know your next line is going to be something over x minus 8. What's the something? This plus this. Collect your like terms, tidy it up. Same thing here. This is over x squared minus 25 on the top. And I'm just going to caution you about this minus in here. This is x squared plus 6x minus both of these things. So really what you have, minus 4x plus 1. Because this negative with this negative is going to be a plus. Collect your like terms. Realize there's a little bit of a tricky thing going on here. You're going to then have to factor. Some stuff's going to cancel. And don't forget to do your non-permissibles out of the bottom. Now, what do you do when they give you some that don't have common denominators? Factor, factor, factor. So this is going to be 1 over 2 things that multiply to make 8 and add to make 6. So x plus 4 and x plus 2 plus 1 over, and I'm writing really big because I'm writing on my tablet on the screen. 2 things that multiply to make negative 12 and add to make 1 would be 4 and negative 3. Now, if you look at these 2 denominators, this is in both of them already. So they're partially common. I need them more common than that. This x minus 3 isn't over here. I need it over here if these are going to end up matching. Anything I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. This x plus 2 is on this side. It's not over in this fraction. So I'm going to do that, top and bottom. Now the denominators match. When we multiply, order doesn't matter. So the fact that they're in different orders is irrelevant. As long as all of the pieces are there, they're the same. Those factors all match. X minus 3 up here times 1 plus 1 times x plus 2. Collect like terms, tidy it up, do your non-permissibles. This one, nothing factors on the bottom, so it's just going to be a matter of going x minus 9 on top and bottom here, and x minus 12, and so on, and tidying those up. Now, Lab 4D, because it is winding things up at the end, is going to give you some extra ones to work on. Now, when you get to the solve, right, because that's a whole different something. Now we've got an equal sign. Equal signs are good. Equal signs mean we can do things and make stuff go away. The first thing I would do with this one is move everything to the left-hand side. How do I move this? I just subtract it. Now, this is a rational expression just like the rest of the sheet. So you can do that. That's easy. And what do we have yet? We have it equals 0. So you're going to end up with a big expression over a big expression equals 0. The only way a fraction can equal 0 is if the top equals 0. So the magic trick is when you get to here, you get to throw away the bottom. The bottom is going to give you your non-permissible values, but the top is where you're going to get your answers. And all of that's been covered in all your notes. This is just me summarizing. And the word problems are just like those some examples that you saw in the course as well. So there's my little tips and tricks for 4D. The only way to get good at these activities or these types of questions is to do them and do a lot of them. And if you get done and you need more, the textbook has more. Ask Google for some. Go look up simplifying rational expressions. Khan Academy has more. Find more and do more and do more and do more. From what I've seen, probably factoring is something that you need to do more, because every student that I watch, that's you don't factor efficiently, which makes all of this hard. And it isn't hard. You just have to practice until it gets easier.